Hey everybody, Josh Sheridan here with the Barely Legal Podcast. Excited this week to interview professional wrestler and local celebrity in the Tampa Bay area, Mike Mondo. Hey Mike, how are you doing?
Josh, how you doing, man? It's good to be on the show. Thanks for having me, man. I really appreciate it.
So you're somewhat new to the area, right? You've been here for about a year?
I've been here for about, a little over a year, but not, I would say familiar with the area. I lived here back in 2008 for a couple years, actually, when I was working for WWE.
So let's talk about that because that's part of your career that I find so interesting. So currently, who is it that you're wrestling for?
Currently wrestling, well, right now I'm a free agent. Right now
Okay.
I'm not currently not signed with anybody, any of the promotions right now nationally. But, me and my partner Kenny, we're tag team the Spirit Squad. We've been traveling the world. We actually just got a booking to Germany. We're closing down that on April. So yeah, we've just been traveling. We were working for MLW quite a lot, Major League Wrestling,
Okay.
which is on the BN Sports Network, and I'm pretty sure they get it down here. To check your local table listings for that. But yeah, no, it's been really keeping busy. Just trying to stay on the road and trying to keep myself out there as much as possible, and just doing what I love to do.
So where are you from originally?
Originally from Long Island, New York. So I
Oh
was
yeah,
born
New
and
York
raised.
guy.
Yep.
I can hear the
You
accent.
hear it a little bit?
Yeah.
Yep.
And how long did you live there?
Man, I lived there my whole life, pretty much. Well, actually, I have a very interesting story. I was born and raised in Long Island, and I have a brother, a sister, and just kind of grew up like a normal kid and everything. And I always thought I'd be the last person to move out of my house. Just by the way, I was always kind of a home type person. But long behold, when I was 18 years old, I decided to play a little Russian roulette with my life, take a gamble, and go after my dream to be a professional wrestler. And I was 18 when I actually moved out of Long Island, New York.
When did you get into wrestling?
Got into wrestling when I was 18.
Well, I mean, when?
Oh.
Let me ask you differently. When did you become interested in wrestling?
Oh, interesting. I would probably have to say. Well, I remember, man. I have these glimpses. I remember sitting in my dad's lap when I was like 4 years old, and I remember just watching Hulk Hogan on TV. And my dad, I was sitting in his lap, and he's like, "Yeah, I got a pair of trunks like Hulk Hogan." And I'm just like, thinking to myself, "No, no, you don't." And he picked me up in front of his dresser and showed me like a picture of his bathing suit, and it had yellow in it, but also like multicolored. I'm thinking to myself, he doesn't have trunks like Hulk Hogan.
What was the big WWF event that they used to have like once a year?
Oh, WrestleMania.
WrestleMania. So
Yeah.
I remember.
Yeah.
I remember growing up the first couple years. You could. I remember I saw the first two WrestleManias because I rented them on VHS.
Of course.
At a store, but then they were on pay-per-views, and I think I saw 3 or 4
Yeah.
On pay-per-views. And back then, pay-per-views were like ridiculously expensive.
Oh yeah, I remember that was my annual birthday party. I did it every single year. I mean, it was standard. I invite my friends over. We go out and play basketball or hockey, whatever sport I was into at the time that I had the kick for.
Yeah.
And then we close it out with pizza and WrestleMania in my living room. I mean, that was the ritual.
And then for a while there was a Friday night. What was the Friday night one called?
Saturday night's main event. There was Saturday night's main event. There was main event.
Yeah.
Friday Night SmackDown. There was
maybe that's what it was. And then we had the local wrestling. I remember. Was it Gordon Soley? What was that?
Oh, Gordon Soley. Oh, gee, we're talking about AWA there?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That was like a Southeastern wrestling.
Southeastern, yeah. Well, see, back in the day, it was a lot different than how wrestling is now. Vince McMahon kind of monopolized the industry now, where it's just WWE more than WWF. I mean, now, it's kind of evolving a little bit more. I'd say wrestling's a lot more hot than what it was in a long time. You got AEW out there. MLW, they're making waves, Ring of Honor and stuff, and a lot more work than there was, as it was to like a few years ago. But back in the day, there was this thing called the territory system,
Right.
and a lot of wrestlers, it was a lot easier for wrestlers like such as myself, to be able to make a living because, you go wrestle for Stu Hart and Canadian Stampede, you go there for a few months, and then go work for the Von Erichs in the Texas territory.
Remember the Von Erichs?
Oh yeah. We're actually been working with them a lot in MLW.
Wow.
It's I can't think of their names off the bat, but it's the kids of Kevin Von Erich.
Sure.
So anyway, long story short is that there was places to go. So it's like wrestlers can actually make a living and just kind of travel the United States and just go from territory to territory. but just slowly that kind of evaporated as time went on, and now it's kind of just really one place to go. So.
Have you studied the history of wrestling much?
Oh yeah, I mean I mean that's what I know. That's what I do. I feel like there's one thing in wrestling I do. One thing in life I really know. It's just some professional wrestling.
Well, correct me if I'm wrong, but
Yeah.
the roots of it, didn't it almost start as like a circus event? Like, didn't they kind of like travel around and have events?
Oh yeah, man. I mean, that was like that was kind of like an attraction back in the day. You
Yeah.
know, I mean, like just like
An
you
oddity
said.
almost.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
You know, and that's what it was like, kind of like in the carnival era. You know.
Well,
and,
you always hear,
yeah.
I grew up listening to Bubba the Love Sponge, and
Yeah.
he would have a Hulk Hogan on the show.
Yep.
And they always be speaking carny to each other.
Well, that's how it kind of all came about, you know.
Well,
and
for the public who doesn't know wrestling that well, tell people what
yeah, carny. I mean, it's like our own language, kind of. It's kind of like how we speak.
So what's the importance of that, though? You're in the ring and you're
Yeah.
communicating with your opponent without the crowd knowing what it is.
Exactly. Yeah, and my first actual experience with that on TV, and I'll never forget it. I was live wrestling on Monday Night Raw, and there's a veteran referee out there. His name's, I don't know if you ever heard of him. His name's Mike Mondo.
Okay.
Still up there to this day, I believe. Had a career there for a very long time. And I remember I was getting my time cues from the referee because he's usually the silent assassin in the ring. Kind of helping us out when really the attention's not on him at all unless it really needs to be.
So what's he telling you? What's the referee telling you?
So yeah, anyway, so it's like he's giving us a countdown like 6 in English. When you speak Carney, it's C is Zix. So everything has like an E or an is at the end of it, and then we're getting like to 4 minutes. He's like Fiazor, and I'm just like, is he really speaking Carney right now?
Yeah.
On live TV? But I mean, he's old school, so it kind of just makes sense, that he would do it. Like if there was kind of like a new school referee, I'd be like, oh, okay, that's odd. But I mean, it's probably just in his nature to do that. But I thought that was really cool, and I actually kind of understood what he was saying, so I thought it was even cooler. And it's something you can bust out when you're with the guy that's been around, and he kind of like knows, like understands Carney, and can speak.
So there's not much carny anymore.
No, I wouldn't say not much anymore. I mean, there might be people that throw it out there or hear people say it, so they say it, but I don't know if it's really fluently speaking. But it's like some of those things where it's like if I'm working a guy that's been around for a while and like we're wrestling outside the ring and we're close to the people, I might throw it in there just because the fans not really going to pick up on it if they're kind of watching, you know what I mean? Because
Sure.
they're not really paying attention to like, oh man, what is he going to say next? It's just kind of just throw it out there. But it's just a way to protect the business, and just a way to kind of relay things to each other without the public really knowing what you're saying.
And what about the roles in a match?
Yeah.
Or I know there's the heel and there's what are the various roles that people play?
Yeah, the heel. I mean, there's a heel, and really, it's black and white. I mean, I'm old school. I mean, I consider myself old school. I was broken in old school. There's people. I mean, I know a lot of people that say I'm a tweener. And it's
So
just
what's a
like,
tweener?
I mean, okay, does that mean? You're a heel and a baby face? Like, doesn't really make sense.
So is a baby face the good guy?
It's black and white. If you're a heel, you're a baby face. If I'm a heel, I want to hate you and not like you and boo you. And if I'm a baby face, I want to get behind you, cheer for you, and be some type of emotional connection towards you.
Right.
And so.
So Hogan would be a baby face.
White, yes, complete baby face.
Now, what would
I shouldn't say
Well, he changed
complete,
a little bit.
yeah. He was also one of the biggest heels too.
Sure. What was Macho Man? Was he a
Macho Man was probably. I mean, again, he was both.
Yeah.
Generally speaking, it's like if you're a really good heel, you can be a really good baby face.
Yeah.
It's like one of those things where you can be such a good heel that the people actually start liking you.
Well,
and it's
you look
almost
at The
like
Rock,
those
you
are the
look
best
at-
turns.
Sure.
It's like when the fans kind of turn you yourself.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like it's not like it's booked. Like, all right, Josh, we're gonna turn you heel. You know what I mean? It's like if you're just organically great at what you do, the
Yeah.
people will sometimes it's what happened with Austin.
Uh-huh.
It happened with The Rock. It happened with Hogan. It
Yeah.
happened with a lot of guys. They just it naturally when stuff naturally organically happens like that. That's usually the best TV,
Yeah.
and it's the best money drawing TV.
Yeah.
And that's ultimately what this business is about, selling tickets and drawing money, and
So-
entertaining the fans, obviously.
So sorry, everybody. We're going to be skipping all over the place today. But so 18, you decide you're going to strike out and enter into the wrestling community.
Yeah.
How does one do that? And when would that have been in the 90s?
2000. I graduated high school in 2001, and
Okay.
if I can make a long story short,
Well, don't have to make a long story short.
okay, I mean, in a nutshell, I had two dreams in life. I always knew I was going to do something on a national TV professional level. I don't know what it is. It's just that was my gut inside me. That was in my heart. I wouldn't say I was so much a school type person. I was a meathead jock. Wanted to be in the weight room, lift weights. That was who I was.
Right.
So I mean, I had two dreams in my life. One dream was to be in the NFL, and then the other dream was to be in the because I was a big fan. I lived in New York, so I grew up on the territory to the WWE.
Giants, Jets. Who was your team?
Oh, Jets.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sorry. I know, right? That's it. But so I just was like, I figured, okay, well, I boiled it down to it, and I was like, there's a timeline on football for me, because you go to school, you play college, you get to the pros, and then wrestling. I mean, generally speaking, you can get into wrestling at any time. I always believe the younger you can start in something, the better chance you have of succeeding in something. I mean, take the majority of NHL players, hockey players, I mean, they're skating in Canada before they can walk.
Right.
Probably why most in the NHL is either Canadian or, you know what I mean? It just
Russian,
just makes sense, So, being I never scored. Spoiler alert. I never did well on my SATs. I got below like the average. It was horrible. And I wasn't NCAA eligible to play college ball, so I didn't have a choice. And I don't know, there was something in me that always wanted to play D1. I'm like an overachiever. If I want to go for something, I want to go for the best.
All the way, yeah.
All the way, yeah. And I didn't want to be one to transfer schools and then start it. So I was like, all right, you know what? I'm going to go to college. And it was a community school. And I'm going to, kind of like my hockey analogy with the ice skating, the younger you start, the better chance you have of succeeding at something. I was like, I'm just going to get into a professional wrestling school. And I went to an indie show. I met up with someone introduced me to somebody. And that's
Was this in New York?
In New York, yeah, Long Island, New York Wrestling Connection, who I'm still affiliated with to this day. I go back and try to give back whenever I can because that was my place where I got my start.
What does wrestling school entail?
A wrestling school, it's kind of like where you go to learn the business.
Well, sure, but I mean, tell me what's the curriculum?
The curriculum. Well,
9
yeah,
a.m. to 10 a.m.
No,
taking a beating.
and that's
11
the
a.m.
thing.
to noon.
I mean, there really is no curriculum.
Yeah.
My curriculum was it was wrestling school from. It started at 7 p.m. and would go for like 10 p.m. And there was a beginner's class and an advanced class. In the beginner's class, you learn the basics, learn how to take bumps, fall. For those people that don't know what taking bumps means, that are listening out there, you learn the fundamentals, and that's probably the most important aspect of pro wrestling. And that really kind of gets overlooked, I think, today, where more of it's kind of like moves and high spots and almost like a demolition derby done right, as I like to give the analogy.
Yeah.
But footwork, ring psychology, what to do when, where. Learn, how to read a crowd, cutting a promo, which is even
talk about cutting a promo because that's another
Yeah.
phrase that I'm familiar with from Bubba.
Of course.
What's cutting a promo mean?
Cutting a promo, yeah, an interview.
Yeah.
Kind of like kind of what I'm doing now, sort of, kind of, not really.
But I remember.
I mean, I'm doing more of a shoot promo right now.
Well, that's another one. Shoot and
shoot.
a rub. What's a shoot and a rub, and what's
a rub?
Yeah.
Giving the guy a rub.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, all right. If I'm in the ring with Hulk Hogan, I mean, you might be giving me a little bit of a rub. I'm in the ring with Hogan.
Yeah.
I'll get a little bit more eyes on me.
And what's a shoot?
A shoot?
Yeah.
Kind of like what I'm doing now, just kind of asking me a question about
being
wrestling school and being honest about. Yeah. Just I'm not cutting the edges, so to speak.
Yeah.
I'm shooting straight with you.
No, but cutting a promo, man, in the 80s, you can still go on YouTube now and like, there's those funny videos of Macho Man and Hulk Hogan where, they're like, these guys must be coked out of their mind.
A lot, and that's the thing, that's the difference between today's promos and promos back then.
Yeah.
Was because, back then it was, well, let me tell you something, brother, I'm going to, scream in the camera and you're going to listen, but now it's more, promos today are kind of more just conversational, kind of like how we're talking right now.
Yeah.
About drawing the people in, making them almost not want to, why are you screaming at me? I'm going to change the channel. You know what I mean? But instead of just kind of drawing the person in, it's just like, wow, I'm not hearing you. I'm listening to you.
Yeah.
And there's a difference between hearing somebody and listening to somebody.
Yeah.
And almost captivating them on everything that they're saying.
When did that change? Because the last I followed wrestling, they were still pretty.
I'm going to say that changed more kind of like when UFC got hot, and it was more like.
Trying to make it a sport versus a theater.
Yeah. It was more of just. Yeah, I don't know how to explain it. It's just more of, okay, so not making things wrestling, quote unquote. And I guess the best thing I explained is because back in the day, it was cutting a wrestling promo, and wrestling promos were generally very loud, very energetic, kind of screaming, so to speak. But it was when Vince kind of like wanted to make things more on a realistic level instead of not so much on a cartoonish level.
Right.
And it was like, again, just going back to drawing the audience in and making people feel something.
Was this the early 2000s?
Yeah, earlier, maybe a little bit later than that.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
mid 2000s, probably when I had started having my run, really in 06.
So how long were you in wrestling school for?
I was in wrestling school. See, this is the thing about that is I was in wrestling school for a little under a year.
Is that generally how long it takes?
No, people are usually there longer.
Okay.
And again, everyone's story is different. Let me tell you something about the wrestling business. The wrestling business, a lot of it's right place, right time, who you know, and that one word that sometimes we just hate hearing, but it's called timing.
Mm-hmm.
And timing's everything. And everything kind of fell into place for me about 9 months in, because I got a friend of mine actually AOL instant messaged me when AOL was popular back when I was younger, and he goes, hey man, there's a trial camp for Ohio Valley Wrestling, which was then the developmental territory, aka minor leagues, for the WWF. And it was like, well, sweet. I mean, this is why I got into wrestling to begin with. I want to be a WWF superstar, and you remember the details where it was $1,000, get down to Louisville was a week. And if you get in, you'll be in the advanced class, which means, you probably won't get signed off the bat, but you'll be in a position where you'll be training with the developmental guys, and be under the right place.
It's like a farm team for baseball.
Team. Yeah, okay. Exactly. So that's exactly what I did. I put in my application, and lo and behold, I was at wrestling training one night in Hicksville, Long Island, New York, and I got a phone call from Jim Cornette, and it was like, we got your application. We like what you see. We'd like you to come down. And I think, probably out of thousands of applicants, I was like one of 50, and then I went down there. It was me and my buddy. We actually, the same guy, we got accepted as well.
What's his name?
His name's Pat Buck. Who's actually a producer now for WWE.
Okay.
And, really happy for him, man. He's really a guy that's, been plugging away for a really long time, and happy to see he got his break in the wrestling business. He's doing quite well. So it was kind of funny, we both went down there and did our week, and I got accepted. So it was like, just right place, right time, luck, but then, of course, your talent and your credentials got to speak for itself once you get your foot in the door.
So being accepted, what does that mean?
So that means I went home after my tryout for the week, after doing everything they wanted me to do down there, which is, standard, do a bunch of drills, cut a promo, see if you can talk, have a match, which I wrestled Pat, actually, in that, because, they gave us whoever we wanted to wrestle, we're comfortable wrestling with. So we wrestled each other. We had, from what I remember, we had a good match, Yeah. And went back home, flew home, and, I got a call from Jim again, who I'm very grateful for, who gave me a lot of my breaks, if not most of my breaks in the wrestling business.
Right.
And a lot of, credit goes to Jim Cornette, for that. He gave my foot in the door and a lot of, so he's awesome. But yeah, no, I got a phone call. It was him, and it was like, all right, we want you to come down. We're not going to hire you, but we're going to put you in the advanced class, practice 5 days a week. It was like I was going to, it was like, and I'll say it to this day, Ohio Valley Wrestling's kind of like the Harvard of pro wrestling. I mean, if it was the closest to a territory system that you can have down there, working house shows every weekend. House shows meaning non-televised events. We shot TV every Wednesday night. We practiced 5 days a week. And then on top of that, I had to get a side job because I wasn't signed. So I was a server, serving tables.
And that's uncommon with most of these guys, unless they're like, top tier big production. I mean, you're having to do this. It's like music almost.
Yeah, you're paying your dues.
Yeah,
you're paying your dues, and that's, I think that was man, the people say to pay your dues, and I I'm not patting myself on the back or anything, but I feel I put my time in it, so to speak. As far as there's people there's those that say they do, there's those that say they will, and there's those that will do whatever it takes, and it's a grind, and it's a hard grind. And I tell anybody, even people that I train to this day in the business, that chances are you're not going to make it. I mean, it's tough out there. It's harder than it is to the NFL when you really do the odds. And people that make it to the NFL, I mean, you got how many teams, how many franchises, how many people that are on a team, And now in wrestling, you got one team, maybe two now, right? X amount of players on a roster. You do the numbers, right? The chances are pretty tough. And you're in a world where you don't have to be the best to be the top guy.
Sure.
Because it's entertainment.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Where football or pro baseball.
Skill-wise, you don't have to be the best wrestler skill-wise.
You can have a look.
Compelling, your look or your personality,
right.
or whatever
if
the
you
act
can
is.
talk, or you got a look, or you got something that's happening or that's going on in life today that relates to you and you're marketable, because they can say, oh, okay, we can do something with that guy, and your foot gets in the door, know, and it's very bizarre how some people get their foot in the door. And I say that to be honest with them because, everyone was pretty honest with me, well, not everyone, but,
Sure.
But I just try to do people right. And, but I will give them all the tools that they can give them to give them the best shot to make it, of course, and I try not to take anyone's money and give them the best investment to their dollar.
When you started wrestling in events, were you solo or did you go right into tag team?
I was solo for the most part.
And how long did you do solo stuff?
I did solo for a fairly long time. I mean, I did tag team. I did everything.
Sure.
See, I'm one of these guys, man. That's like
you're a utility player.
I'm a utility player, man. I've refereed. That's how I really started before I even got in the ring. Wrestling, I was a referee at first, just to give me experience to get in the ring, to watch how the wrestlers work. But at the same time, me being in the ring, to be in the crowd atmosphere, to see why they're cheering, why they're booing, see what the things that they do, the wrestlers talk,
right?
Just to see how everything operates, give me that opening introduction. And then I became a wrestler. And then when I went down to Louisville, I must have set up and took down rings, God, thousands of times.
So it's so much like music. It's like putting up your drum set.
Oh yeah. What's the entertainment? And music, I really, because I actually work security at the Orpheum.
Yeah.
That's right. And it's funny because I'm down there working, and I it's like I get goosebumps a little bit because I just see the whole process of it, and it's just like, this is wrestling. You know what I mean? It's just guys going out, the bands going out there, getting their name out there. For that
hour you're in front
of the crowd. They got a product, they got a gimmick.
You're the star, but the hour before, or the hours before, and hours after, you're humping around,
Well, it's funny,
I
see these band members, and they do their thing on stage. And it's like, I'll give them their props, it's good stuff out there. But they're hustling, getting their stuff off. And it's just like, man, these guys were the stars.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But that's the thing. Like, when we did house shows in Louisville, it was like one of those things where we had to get there really early to put up the ring. You know what I mean? And sometimes we'd have to wait a little while longer to take down the ring.
Right.
Because the fans, they would come early. They would stay after the show. And you don't want to really see the fan seeing, because you portrayed a star, know? And how does that look if you just got done wrestling, now you're taking down the ring? It just, you don't want to give that sort of,
Yeah, you don't want to pierce the veil
exactly.
of the mystique of the
mystique.
Yeah,
exactly.
Selling, that's the product.
Of course.
The story.
The story. Yeah. But yeah, man, it's a hustle, it's a grind, and you just got to do what you got to do, to put yourself out there, and that's really what it's all about, is putting yourself out there and trying to get yourself over, and just creating something that the people can connect with, that somebody can market on you, and because you can be the greatest wrestler in the world, you know what I mean? You can know every wrestling hold, you can know, you can work with anybody. I mean, that's kind of like how I was portrayed, is they call that a carpenter in wrestling, just a guy that, can work with anybody,
right.
Big, small, fat, skinny. Didn't matter what race, what style, you can go in there and you can have a good, credible match with them,
Yeah.
But there has to always be that something extra, you
Right.
know, because I mean, we can hire anybody as the guy in tights, but what is that something to you that's like, well, I can make money with that, you know, and that's something special that's about you that separates you from every other individual or every other wrestler, I should say, or in music. What's that, you know, because I even noticed at the Orpheum, it's like, if there's bands that you know, they got their gimmick, so to speak, that they're, you know, they all sing music, they all have vocals, they all got instruments, but there's something about those certain musicians when I'm down at the Orpheum, whether it's their introduction or it's not even sometimes the music that they're playing, but what they're doing in between the songs that draws my attention, almost like the entertainment and the show aspect. That's like, all right, that's cool. You know, sometimes the music is not as good as some of the other music, but the bands that have the okay music, I like better just because of the presentation factor, and that draws me in more. And it's almost like, cool, this is makes their music that's okay great.
Right.
Does that make sense?
No, it does. Yeah,
because the overall total package.
Well, yeah, I mean, there's more to it than just, you know, there's crowd work. There's just kind of the whole deal, the package deal.
Yeah.
So the tag team that you're in currently is called the Spirit Squad, right?
Yeah, the Spirit Squad. That's what we were on in WWE when we had our run.
Okay.
Now we've kind of reinvented ourselves to a certain degree. You know, we're the SWO, the Squad World Order. The Squad. You know.
And are you guys heels or baby faces?
For the most part, heels.
Yeah.
You know, but it just depends sometimes where we go. You know, we actually get booked sometimes more as baby faces than we have actually thought, and it's okay. You know, we've got two shticks that we got going. You know, we got a way that we go as heels, and then we kind of keep the same thing. But you know, hey, the only thing that makes you how do I explain this right so people understand out there? You know, you keep the same act, you know, but the only thing that you do differently is circumstance-wise, like when you're in the ring. You know, if you're heels, then you just do things that you cheat. You know, if you're a baby face, you do things that you play by the rules.
Yeah.
You know, but it's all about giving the people the experience to what they're used to and seeing you on TV. You know, you don't want the people to see you on TV and they go to the show, you know, to come see you and then give them a different act.
Yeah.
It's kind of like, you know, you rip them off a little bit, or people want to see what they've seen on TV, you know, and you give them a show. So
I remember, you know, back early on in the 80s, the late 70s and 80s, you know, there was a lot more dialogue in the public about, you know, is it real or is it not real? And I think, you know, at this point in time, people understand that it's, you know, for show, but as far as the physicality of it, I mean, talk to me a little bit about, you know, the kind of toll it takes on you in a match. I mean, are you really getting hit? Are you really hitting the ground?
Yeah. Well, I tell you this, man, you can't fake gravity, you know, and the cat's out of the bag, you know, wrestling's show. Okay. But you know, I mean, it's, you know, wrestling's based on emotion, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And every time I get in the ring, it sounds funny, but it's real to me.
Yeah.
You know, I put myself in this place mentally, and because it's like a really good actor, you know. If
you don't believe it, the crowd's not going to
exactly,
believe it.
You know. I mean, why do you think actors like Robert De Niro are so good?
Method acting. You're almost method wrestling.
Yeah. And if you're not believing what you're doing in the ring, it's like, well, the people ain't going to feel what you're doing in the ring, and therefore they're not going to buy what you're doing.
Right.
You know, and I think that's a very important thing for wrestlers out there, or aspiring wrestlers to know that are listening, is that, you know, you got to believe everything that you do is real. You know, you got to think real and then work, I say, you know, because you don't want to go in there with a real set mentality and then beat the holy crap out of somebody.
Right.
Because you both, you know, you understand, and you both got to go on and make a living the next day. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But wrestling's also an art form. You know, I think a really good wrestler or worker can throw a fantastic looking punch and barely even touch you, but making the people go, oh man, he really knocked the freaking crap out of him.
Yeah.
You know, I think that's the whole art.
Yeah.
And I think that's something that I take a lot of pride in myself that I do is, you know, I can go in there and I can make it look like you know what I'm saying? But and I've had people tell me, you know, people know when they see, well, at least I don't sound like I'm really putting myself over here, but people, when they say, okay, you know, they see their name against the wall against me, and it's like, all right, well, it's going to be a great match, and I'm going to come out okay.
Right.
You know, because it's about taking care of the other person.
Are there reckless guys out there? Is there people? Yeah,
absolutely. You know, there's a lot of reckless guys out there.
Are there people you just won't wrestle with? Because
Well, no,
I'm not gonna ask for names.
No, that's okay. I don't. I've never actually said no. I'm not going to wrestle this guy.
Right.
But I've had guys that were on the cross from the card for me, and I'm like, okay, I'm going to take a different approach on how I go about this match with this guy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's just you have to always protect yourself, because you got one body. You got X amount of bumps in you, and when that bump card is up, your career is done. You know what I mean? So you always got to pick your spots on how much and what you're going to do. Always work hard, but, always just keep that in mind, you always want to live the fight another day because this business is all about, getting longevity. You know what I mean?
Well, I look at these guys that I grew up watching, and they're, there's that documentary about Jake the Snake and kind of what he went through, and Razor Ramon and all this stuff. And, Diamond Dallas Page has got that whole yoga thing he's doing now for these guys who's, have horrible knee injuries, hip injuries, all these types of things. And so there's no doubt it takes a big toll on your body. I wonder if these days people aren't a little bit more smart about what they're putting their body through than they were back in the day. But
well, it's interesting to me because, you look at the old timers, some of these old timers out there are still wrestling today. And you got to think, well, how is that even possible? Well, they were a lot smarter back in the day. And when I say smarter, I don't mean from an education standpoint, but the style was also different a lot back in the day. They had to wrestle a lot more. They had to wrestle 5, sometimes 6 nights a week, a double shot on Sunday. Maybe get one day off if they're lucky. They're always traveling, so they had to work a lot smarter.
Right.
Nowadays, wrestling's pretty much, for the most part, you're wrestling on the weekends.
Yeah.
And some weekend warrior type guys. That's kind of like, honestly, I'm doing that right now. I'm on the independent level.
Yeah, every weekend you're going somewhere.
Always, going somewhere. And during the week right now, I have my my normal job that I work down at XForce Body, training you.
Yeah.
A couple times a week. And then, bouncing, at the club, the concert hall, on
whenever they have a show.
Whenever they have a show, yeah. So, I'm going. I'm trying to, make a living myself. But my whole point is with the old timers is that, they worked a lot smarter back then. And they protected their bodies because it's like you had to work to make a living, and they work so many times a week. Where now it's like you don't work as much, and it's just, the careers are a lot shorter today because of the physicality that they put there. I'm not saying it's right or wrong. It's a different art. It's a different style. I'm not here to say what's right and what's wrong. I got what I like and what I enjoy and what I believe in. I always believe the wheel's always round, so to speak. I believe in storytelling. I believe in good versus evil. I believe it's like watching a movie. You go into a movie theater and you're paying a ticket just knowing the movie's not real, right? But you going in there to be emotionally invested, and you go see Rocky IV, so to speak, right? And all of a sudden you kind of get lost in that moment, and you get drawn, and now all of a sudden Rocky's got his final fight, and all of a sudden you look around and the people are throwing their popcorn bags in the air when Rocky's making his comeback,
right?
Because there was a story to it. There was an emotional investment in there. I wanted to hate Dolph Lundgren, right? And I really wanted to see Rocky come out on top after feeling the sympathy for him, throughout the whole entire movie, just like Batman, who's always getting his ass kicked throughout the whole entire movie.
Till the end,
pretty much to the end anyway, but it's simple. It's people understand. It's black and white. It's matches drawn on emotion and not so much a pop fest.
Yeah.
And when I say pop fest, I just mean almost like my analogy, what I said earlier, a demolition derby done right.
So,
and I say done right because they're great at what they do.
Right.
It's great. You know what I mean?
You hear stories these days too. Like there was that movie with Mickey Rourke, The Wrestler, and it was kind of the dark side of wrestling, and that was supposed to be somewhat of a takeoff of was it Jake the Snake or
not even Jake the Snake. I think it was just supposed to get in. And I've seen that the movie The Wrestler a couple times, and I'm not really a fan of it, to be honest with you.
Do you think it was?
It's not like something I'm gonna go back and can't wait to watch again.
Well, it's not a fun movie to watch, but as far as
no,
its
but
accuracy.
I think it gives a different perception. Not everyone's life is like that. How they portrayed it, you know what I mean? Not every wrestler is just kind of like. It's really been so long. I kind of don't. I remember what it was about, but I don't really remember what it's about.
Sure.
But I know it was like. He just had
a lot of drugs
and
injuries
and just really really struggling to survive, and then something with his daughter, right?
Yeah.
Not every career is like that. I mean, there's some that are, and it's sad, but it's not. It's not like when you watch that movie, they go, "Oh, that's what wrestlers are."
Yeah,
because that's not the case.
That's just kind of maybe a slice of the pie.
Yeah. I mean, it was probably, in my opinion, a producer that saw how a wrestler could possibly go down and was like, "Oh, that can make money, and I'm just gonna really exploit that."
Sure.
And make
Who are
dollars.
some of the people that you've worked with that the listeners would know?
I'm sorry?
You've worked with certain people. I know.
Oh, okay. You mean just names off the bat?
Yeah.
Yeah, man. I was lucky. I really came at a time when I got my break in the wrestling business that a lot of people were kind of on their way out, you know, so to speak, retiring or moving on to producer roles or anything. But I kind of caught the tail end of their like in-ring careers, and I'm really grateful for that because it was such a great learning experience for me. Really gave me experience that's invaluable, and I think probably never can really be achieved to this day. Guys like Shawn Michaels, probably the greatest in-ring performer of all time. Triple H, put him right up there, just the mastermind of the business, and really taught me the difference between how working, from the first match of the card, difference from the last match of the card, because we were working main events with D-Generation X for pretty much my whole run when I was up there.
Right.
Guys like Kane, The Big Show, Rowdy Roddy Piper.
You told me some Rowdy Piper stories, if I recall.
Yeah.
Hacksaw Jim Duggan story.
Jim Duggan. Yeah.
Roddy Piper story.
Yeah, I've been in the ring with Roddy, like, gosh, I mean, dozens of times, Ric Flair. We lost the tag belts to Ric Flair and Roddy Piper on pay-per-view.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Is that video somewhere?
Oh, yeah, that's on YouTube.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, Cyber Sunday 2006.
Oh, my God.
Yeah.
How awesome.
Great. Yeah. We motivated, like some main evented pay-per-views with DX. Wrestled Sergeant Slaughter. I wrestled Dusty Rhodes. Ron Simmons, Hall of Famers.
Did you tell me you trained The Rock's daughter? Was it The Rock's daughter?
Yeah, well, I do every now and again. I go down to the Performance Center down in Orlando, Florida, and just a chance for me to give back my knowledge because not just inside the ring wrestling, but I have experience training wrestlers as well. And so I go down to the Performance Center to guest train, and Simone Johnson's down there, and she signed with WWE, and I was actually down there the week The Rock came down, which was quite the experience. And I thought it was really cool because I never met The Rock, and I've always wanted to meet The Rock. And he's everything that people always say about him, just a stand-up professional, straight up one of the boys, and just a really cool guy to meet. And I actually got in the ring with him a little bit, and that was nice.
Well, I mean, if you look at the golden ring of what you can turn a wrestling career in, I can't think of anybody who's kind of turned his career into gold than him. I mean, he's in legit movies, legit TV shows.
Call that the American dream, right?
Well, I'm trying to think who else would have even come close. And I mean, I guess Hulk Hogan would have been kind of the standard, but I think even at this point, The Rock's career is
back in I'd say back in the 80s, it kind of started out in a lot smaller than how it is now. But of course, the timeline, life, just everything's with technology got bigger these days. But I mean, look at Hulk Hogan, right? Suburban Commando back in the day.
Oh yeah.
Roddy Piper was in a movie.
They Live.
Right.
One of the best movies ever.
Yeah. And so wrestlers always played small parts, or not even major parts in movies. Kevin Nash was in the Super Shredder for Turtles.
Oh yeah, Ninja Turtles.
Ninja Turtles, and then just as movies and Hollywood blew up, it kind of opened the doors for wrestlers to take on bigger roles. And
we have Batista who lives here in Tampa, and he's in Marvel movies and James Bond and all this other stuff.
John Cena does a lot of movies now.
Yeah, I know he's got one coming out.
A couple wrestlers have really turned their careers into Hollywood full blown.
Yeah,
like Cena, Batista, Rock, obviously. It's good.
So how many matches did you have last year?
Last year, well, I can tell you a total. I've had over probably 3,000 matches total. I'm 37 in March. I got in the business when I was 18, and these are matches actually in front of people, like actual shows.
Sure.
Yeah. So it's a lot of experience under my belt.
So on average, though, how many do you do a year?
Wrestling's interesting, man. Some months are hot and some months are cold. God, I'll probably say like probably a couple hundred, at least a year now. Still.
Really? That many?
Yeah. Wow. Just to keep ourselves busy, and it's give or take. Sometimes less, sometimes maybe more.
Are you booked? Are you booked for any shows yet this year?
This year we have MLW January 10th coming up here.
Where's that going to be?
That'll be in Dallas, Texas.
Okay.
Yep. And then the holidays been pretty slow. So right now kind of trying to stock up on February. Got some contacts in the UK. I'm hoping to head back there.
Well, that's right. You said Germany. So tell me about that. When do you go to Germany?
Yeah, Germany will be sometime in April.
Oh wow. Have you ever wrestled overseas before?
Oh yeah. I've traveled everywhere.
How was it received over there?
Oh, it's actually overseas. It's fun. It's different crowd, different culture.
I hear a lot.
Everywhere you go is different.
I hear a lot. Musicians are perplexed at the reception they get from German fans, because German fans are very academic about what's going on and they don't mean it maliciously, but they're not afraid to criticize your performance.
No, not at all. Kind of compare it to kind of like New York a little bit and Philadelphia.
Sure.
They'll be a little bit more harder on you.
Yeah.
And then you go to Japan and they're a lot more humble.
You wrestled in Japan too?
Oh, a few times.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, with WWE and actually outside WWE and just like on independence out there and stuff. And I've been to Nigeria, Africa.
Oh, wow.
That was wild, and I'll never go back there again. So
really?
If anyone wants to book me for Nigeria out there, you can. Don't call me.
What happened?
Oh man, it was the wild, wild west out there, man. I mean, when you talk about everything going wrong, I went out there twice, and the first time wasn't as bad.
Right.
But it was enough to kind of took me into going back because the payday was good, and it was like, all right, why not? Some of my boys were going with me, so we like, all right, good time, But not the second time around, man. You talk about everything going wrong from touchdown to touchdown, like it went wrong.
Yeah.
I'm talking about. Well, first of all, they believe it's a shoot there. You know, they don't call you wrestlers there; they call you fighters.
Yeah.
You're a fighter.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm a fighter.
Yeah.
Lover, not a fighter. No, but I remember I was working a match, and I was wrestling a guy, and there was a title belt, whatever was on the line or something. I was a bad guy, so I was just doing my thing in the ring, and I rolled out of the ring, and just me being the heel that I was, I decided just to take the title belt off the ring announcer's table and just decide the match is over, and I was going to leave with the title. Knowing that my opponent's going to come out and get me and pop me and throw me back in the ring and do our thing, and all of a sudden, I see a fan. He just comes right up to me and he takes the belt away from me. And he's like, "No, you didn't win no championship," right there. And he freaking cocks back at me like he's gonna freaking punch me in the face. And then all of a sudden, these cops out there, they got like these cages and they got these AK-47s. He just freaking whips out the taser, and all of a sudden, the freaking guy goes down. And I'm like to my opponent, "Throw me back in the ring." This is freaking crazy right now. And then we had another match down there one time where the lights went out, and shady area, very skeptical, and the cops come around, surround the ring with their AK-47s. I remember I took down my opponent, put him in a front face lock, and I told him, watch my back, I watch your back, and I told the referee, Chavo Guerrero Sr., God rest his soul, he was watching our peripherals to make sure, no one hits the ring, because like I said, they really believe what was going on there was legit. And then it turns out that there was a stabbing on the outside.
Oh my God.
Someone wanted, just like I said, it's wild out there, and it was nuts. It was just someone died, and that's because the Nigerian wrestlers were on before us. Sorry, going off topic, but I don't know if I ever want to watch Nigerian wrestling, and there's a reason why what we do is entertainment. Because if you took what we did for real and really did it for real, you wouldn't
walk out alive. Yeah,
the matches would go on for 3 hours, and it would be very not entertaining.
Yeah,
and that's what these Nigerian matches were.
Yeah.
There was two guys that were going in there trying to shoot each other off the ropes and not really like running, and it was just the most cluster. Excuse my language, clusterfuck thing ever.
Yeah.
And so that's what happened was. There was a stabbing, and it was that one wrestler stabbed the other because one refused.
The wrestler stabbed.
The wrestler stabbed the wrestler. No, this was they had this argument.
Sure.
Because they were on before us. It was outside.
Okay.
And I'm coming back to me now a little bit, because the wrestler that was supposed to lose wouldn't lose.
Oh.
So no one wanted to lose, and they were getting really mad at each other. You know what I mean? And they got heated,
God.
and and they decided to take it outside and just shanked them. He shanked them with a knife. Yeah, it was nuts.
Wow.
Yeah, don't take me back to Nigeria.
Okay, so Nigeria's out.
Nigeria's out.
So I want to talk to you a little bit about the other thing that you're doing. You mentioned just a minute ago, but you're working at XForce Body over on Kennedy.
Yeah.
So tell me a little bit about that place and what their kind of deal
Yeah,
is
man.
there.
XForce Body, it's a great place to come in if you want to, especially if you're a guy or a woman that's very busy and on the go, business professional, always on the road doing your thing. You might not have time to, spend an hour or two in the gym, you know what I mean? But you really want to get a quick, efficient workout. You want to get leaner. You want to get stronger, and get results,
Right.
And honestly, man, me being a professional athlete, like I do that. I make sure I get that workout in at least once a week, at least. Because it's a great workout. And actually, it's a great wrestler's workout because in wrestling, there's a lot of stop and go. And, in wrestling, you grab a hold, kind of like catch your breath a little bit. And then you're going again, know, and then you're catching your breath and you're going again. Well, that's kind of like the XForce Body workout is because it's like they'll put you through a set of 7 machines.
So there's 2 workouts a week.
There's 2 workouts a week.
And each workout consists of 7 machines?
Yep. The start out at 5, then you work up to 6, and then up to 7.
And talk a minute about what's special about these machines.
Yeah, actually, it's a negative strength training program, which in the gym, it's very overlooked. You see a lot of guys just in the gym doing reps, kind of quick or just kind of, up and
They're
down,
focusing
up and down.
on pushing the weight
so
up.
You're pushing the weight up, but in a nice controlled, slow movement,
Sure.
a good 3 seconds up, with a 1 second hold, and then a 5 second negative repetition.
And then the machines actually add weight on the negative part.
40% more strength training on the negative. So it's like you feel the considerable. People go, it's a lot harder on the way down. I go, yeah, it's because it's a 40% increase.
So if you're bench pressing, by example, if you're bench pressing 100 pounds, it's 3 seconds of 100 pounds up, wait a second, and then 140 pounds, 5 seconds down.
That's it, man. Yeah, you do the math.
And so it's hitting you on that negative portion, which works a different part of the muscle and the longevity of your strength and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you, I mean, it's a hard workout, but then the other part of it is the diet too, correct?
Yeah. There's accountability program to the end of it. We'll sit down with our clients and, making sure we give them a meal plan, that they've recommended to follow, and drinking that gallon of water a day and making sure you're getting the proper rest because that's where you're getting your recovery in. And that's a lot of misconception that people make sometimes is, sometimes train is not always a good thing. You need to, you don't get bigger and you don't get stronger when you train. You get bigger and you get stronger when you sleep, because that's when you recover. And that's why you wake up the next day and you're sore. It's because that's what your body was doing, when you were sleeping. And that's where the proper nutrition comes in to, which is just as much, if not more important to the workout itself.
Well, I mean, it's funny because if you look at my wife, who you've trained before, I think you trained her today.
Yeah.
I mean, she knocked it out of the park.
Oh,
She got her weight down to like what she was at when she was cheering for the Bucks, and her strength's way up, and
she's great.
Yeah. Whereas I have trouble with the diet. The lifting part I've gotten stronger for sure, but
lots of 3s, right? Three.
Yeah.
From scale 1 to 5.
That's right. But the diet's always perplexing to me. But anyway, so that's I mean, it's a really cool program, and a lot of my friends and colleagues who are attorneys, it's so hard to get in the gym, but 20 minutes twice a week, it's really killer. I mean,
it is.
The value there is worth it versus doing nothing.
Absolutely. Especially my long days there. It's like, I don't have the time to go to the gym. So it's like I bring my clothes there and I bust out a workout, and sometimes I feel just as good as if I spent in the gym for 2 hours.
Yeah.
It's full body, 1 set to failure, literally failure, and by the time you're reaching machine 5, you're kind of looking over and you're like, all right, good, there's 2 more left, and you're pretty blown up. When I say blown up, you're pretty tired.
So you're working all day at XForce, you're going to the Orpheum at night, and then on weekends you're flying out to matches.
Flying out, that's pretty much the schedule, man. I'm on the grind.
And do you like working at the Orpheum?
I do. I enjoy it, man.
It was so cool. I was at the show. I was at High on Fire and Power Trip, and I look over and there you are.
There I am.
And I think you got to do that killer show the next week.
Yeah, that was cool. That was... it's funny. I thought the Killer show would have been probably like a night off almost. That was probably the one show that gave me the most problems.
Well, I mean, as far as draw, I mean, that's a big act to be playing in that.
Yeah.
So if people want to follow you, where can they find you online, social media?
Social media, I'm always on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Instagram and Twitter, you can follow me at Mike Mondo 83. And then Facebook, you can look me up. It's Mike Mondo, but I believe the official line is facebook.com Mike Brenly. It's Brendli. That's my real name. And yeah, shoot me a follow. I always put stuff up there, my career, what's going on in the wrestling world, as well as XForce, where I'm personally.
Are you accepting new clients at XForce?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
awesome.
Yep. So if you're interested in that, you can hit me up, and I'll give you more information about that. We do discovery sessions to give you more detailed information on the program and what we have to offer so you can really get a full understanding of what we do there. And yeah, if you're interested in bringing me in for a wrestling show or a convention, autograph signing, or wrestling seminar, I'm doing that full time as well. Here we are in 2020, trying to go in strong. So you can email me at mikemondo@hotmail.com or just DM me at one of these social media sites, and I'll get back to you ASAP. We can hopefully work something out.
Awesome, Mike. Thank you so much for coming by.
Yeah, thanks for having me on, Josh. Good to catch up.
Take it easy.
All right.